We all have to look at the things that are getting in the way of following God. Okay, welcome back to episode 124 of the Bestowed podcast, the place where we answer the most viral questions about Catholic life. I'm your host, Pete Dill, and we got a great show for you today. Now, this is the thing. I already recorded the show, but I looked at the footage, and some of the beginning has some audio difficulties, and the audio was unusable. So I had to re-record this intro. So this is actually the intro that I already did. Now, the whole episode's good. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this intro, and then I'm going to read the question, and then we're going to go right into the previously recorded episode. And something I mentioned in the first intro is that I'm going to try a new format out where I'm actually going to answer one question, one topic, an episode, instead of like 3 or 4. I feel like we can go deeper. We can bring in some Bible. We can bring in some catechism. We can bring in some stories to kind of go deeper into the topic instead of maybe having 3 or 4 topics where we kind of get a little service level where sometimes I feel like I was really getting going and then I had to cut it short because I don't want the episodes to be too long. So we're going to try this out. We're going to try one topic an episode. And this was the first time I'm trying this out now. So it's kind of a different, weird intro because I'm re-recording everything. We're re-recording this intro. But that's what we're going to do for this, for the foreseeable future. So let me know if you like the one topic episode style that we're doing. So I'm going to read the question. Everything's already good, recorded. It's great. You're going to love this episode. I promise you that. I'm going to read the question, and then we're going to get into what we already recorded. Okay, so here is the question. So I've been thinking about selling my old video games for quite some time now. It all started after reading the same passage for the first time called The Rich Young Man, which can be found in Matthew 19, verses 16 to 30, and Mark 10, 17 to 31. But after hearing yesterday's gospel in person, it really made me think of ways to finally go through with it and take action instead of just leaving it as a thought. I have a Nintendo 3DS and Switch with many games I don't actively play, along with the PlayStation 3 and 5. Most of the games I've only played once and never bothered to play again, so basically they collect dust. But every time the thought comes to mind, I think, well, what if one day I want to replay it, or a family member comes over, a friend wants to check it out? And I realized I maybe just keep them as memorabilia since the majority of them don't hold much value dollar-wise. So is this the sort of thing that Jesus was talking about when it comes to earthly possessions? Any advice in this topic would be helpful. So we're going to jump into the answer and the rest of the show now. Okay, so great question. Talking about the gospel we had last Sunday. So this guy's like, I have a hobby. I love video games. I got a ton of it. I got a ton of things. Because sometimes I think about, is this too much? Now, in America, we have this... I think we have this challenge a lot. We know that we are on the upper end of things and possessions and money. It might not feel like that all the time when you see the ultra wealthy on yachts and private planes. And you look at what you have, you might say, you don't have a private plane, But then when we really think about it, we know we have a lot. When you have a safe home and a car and clothes and opportunities and you can go on vacation, like that's a lot more than a lot of the world has. So I think sometimes we do, as Catholics, come to this impasse of like, how much is too much with my possessions? Should I give this stuff up? What should I do? How do I do this? What does it mean with the rich young man? So I wanted to connect the rich young man passage and then what that means, I think, for our earthly possessions and how we can go about living our life in freedom with our earthly possessions and not feel enslaved to them. Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about the possessions, then we'll go into like the more spiritual, the possessions. God calls us to be a good steward of all of our things, all of our possessions, our money, our physical things, our relationships. God calls us to be a good steward. So what you're going through when you have all these things is how can you be a good steward to them? How can you be a good steward to all of these things? Is it too much? And I think if you're asking yourself that question, you probably know that, stewardship of your games means that you play some of them and you don't play the rest of them, and they kind of just sit there. So maybe that's God saying to you, hey, like, you could give these away. Maybe that would bring joy to someone else. That doesn't mean maybe give all of them away, but maybe you could give some of them away to someone who plays, one of your friends who plays video games. That could be a great way to bless them. So God is always calling us to be a good steward of our things. That means also taking care of the things that we have. Being a good steward doesn't mean just having nothing. It actually can mean having a really nice, a really nice thing. Like, look at this. I'm holding right now a really nice glass coffee container, vase container thing. This is nice. This is nice. This is not a cheap thing. This is made of glass. It's got a nice wood top. It's got this really nice, hold grip thing here. This is a nice way to drink coffee. This is not just a cheap coffee mug. Being a good steward doesn't mean selling and getting rid of it and getting the cheapest one on the market. Being a good steward of this coffee mug means I take care of it. I wash it. I put it in a safe place. I don't fool around with it. I know where it is. I clean it after I use it. I make sure that it's taken care of so it can last long. So we can have nice things. And being a good steward of our possessions means that we can have nice things, but then we take care of them. That we make sure that we are not being loose with our possessions. We say, hey, whatever, man, they're just possession, doesn't matter. And so, if it breaks, it breaks. I don't care. These hold no value. No, actually, God is calling us to take care of the things that he blesses us with. And that includes clothes, possessions, coffee mugs, video games. So, I heard this line once that says, only rich people can afford to buy cheap things. It's okay to actually buy something of high quality. You can spend a little extra money on something and buy something of high quality because it will last long, and you take care of it, and then you buy one pair of jeans that can last you 10 years, and you spent money once on it, or you can, buy a really cruddy pair of jeans that's going to rip in 6 months. You have to buy another one, and then another one, and then another one. So having quality things that last long and that we take care of is actually virtuous. So when it comes to our possessions, it's okay to take stock at them and look at them and say, hey, what do I get joy out of here? What do I think I cannot use? What can I get rid of? What am I using right now currently in my life that's bringing value and joy to my life? Okay, well, I'm going to keep taking care of this. I'm going to make sure that I'm using these things properly. And what am I not using? Well, I can probably get rid of them. I can probably sell them. I can probably give them away. So when it comes to our earthly possessions, God is calling us to be stewards, good stewards. You can buy a brand new car. You don't have to buy a junk car and just say, hey, I'm just have to be simple, right? We have to have a simple lifestyle. We have to just be simple and have a junk car. It might break down, whatever. No, you can actually buy a brand new car, and that's virtuous. And God's going to want you to take care of that car. And he's going to want you to use that car to serve yourself, your family, your friends. He's going to want to use that car to pick people up from the airport. It should be a blessing not only to you, but to people in your life. So I think that's point number one, that when it comes to our possessions, we should take a role of stewardship of them. So when you have all these games, the ones you don't use, the ones you think maybe you'll never use, you say, well, what if someone comes over? Well, you know what? Maybe give those away to someone and bless them in that way. Bless someone with that. That's a good way to use a possession too. But take care of those video games. Don't just let them be falling around on the floor everywhere. Take care of what you have. Okay. Moving on, I think, to the next point. Now the next point, we're going a little bit deeper. So let's talk about it. Possessions, money, riches, things. They build comfort for us. Now, we all have a right for security. We all have a right for safety. We even have a right to have things that are luxury. We're allowed to have something that is luxury. You are allowed to have the top of the line, top of the market toaster. You can. But we know we need to have a heart of simplicity. And what does this mean? This means, Lord, these things, they are not above you. So we're allowed to have
possessions and money and even have extra money than our bare minimum needs because we have a right to security, a right to safety. But we need to make sure we have a heart of simplicity that says, Lord, you are king over all of my life, including all the things I have, and none of these things are more important than you. But we know that's a really, really hard challenge. We know how hard that is to not let the things that we have take hold in our hearts and take root in our hearts where they actually are the most important thing. You know what I mean? Like Gollum, Smeagol, My Precious, The Ring, Lord of the Rings, classic example. I mean, we are all Gollum when it comes to our possessions sometimes. You know, you get a brand new phone, you lose it for 2 seconds. Oh, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Oh no, it's brand new. I just spent so much money. Where is that? That's my whole life is on there. We know that feeling. So these things can build comfort for us, which is good. Comfort is okay. But too much comfort can put a lot of distance between us and God. Because too much comfort can make us lazy. Too much comfort can make us spiritually lazy. Where we say, I don't know actually if I really want to get up and go to Mass right now. I think I just want to kind of keep playing on my phone. I got DoorDash coming in 10 minutes. Then I think an Amazon package is also arriving. And then I got to wash my new car outside. And then I remember I have to go, I have to go to the market because I have to get a brand new door for our garage. That's a stupid example, but stupid example. You can tell the things that I have in my life because I try to think of nice things. We know that too much comfort can make us lazy. So the goal of possessions is not to build comfort. The goal of money is not to build comfort. We look at as a lot of times, we look at money, we look at possessions, we look at earthly things, we look at products as a way to build comfort, but they are not the end goal of that. The end goal is not to build comfort in our lives. They're meant to serve us and serve us in our mission in life. You have to say money is a great servant, but a terrible master. And we have to live by that. Money is a great servant, but a terrible master. Money and possessions, they serve our life. They serve our family. They give us security. They give us safety. This brand new house, BackSeat Media headquarters, What's the Dope studio right here in this brand new house. This is incredible that God has blessed our family with this house. But ultimately, it cannot be the most important thing in my life. It is meant to serve my family, serve the people around us, to invite people into home, be a safe place for the family, but it is not the most important thing. And God's will for my life is more important than making sure that this house is the most important thing in my life. And that can be hard because we know how nice comfort is. Comfort is nice. Having comfortable things is nice. And it's not bad, but we can very easily get too comfortable in our life where we get spiritually lazy. So we have to have a sharp eye for being not too comfortable and not getting spiritually lazy. And a good way to do that is to be a good steward of our things and to make sure that we are having a generous spirit. And we have a spirit and a heart that is simple, but also just generous. We give. We as Catholics, we give. We have to give. We have to give our money. We have to give our time, our things. People want to come over, you invite them in. People want to have something. People want to borrow something, you let them borrow it. People need a couple dollars, you give it. And we can't let our money and possessions allow us to keep taking and gathering and building our stack higher and higher and higher until eventually we're sitting on top of all of our things, happy, healthy, wealthy, and saying, yes, this is all for me. It's like, no, God has a plan for our life, and when we have too much comfort, we can't hear it as easily. Okay, moving on. Now a little bit deeper. Let's start getting to the rich young man part of this. Let's start getting to the young man part of this. So we all know this story. We all know the rich young man story. The rich young man walks up to Jesus and says, Lord, I follow all of these commandments. I've done all these good things. How else can I be your disciple? And Jesus says to him, sell everything you have and follow me. The rich young man looks down, looks sad, walks away because he knows he can't do it. And then Jesus turns to the apostles and says, better to have, just basically says like, easier for a camel to go through the eye than, the rich man enter the kingdom of heaven. And, it's just, wow, it's a powerful, powerful passage. So what does it mean for us? What does it mean for our lives? What does it mean for our possessions? Do we have to sell every single thing that we have and just follow Jesus? Hey, sorry, I'm becoming a CFR. I'm becoming a priest. I'm selling everything I have. Quit the job. No, we have earthly duties. No, we can't sell everything we have. Number one, what I think it means is it's Jesus' invitation to us to follow him. Jesus gives an invitation to this rich young man, says, hey, do this and come follow me. And the invitation from Jesus is an invitation to all of us, and it asks the question, do you want to follow me? Do you want to follow? You've done these things. The rich young man said he's done all these commandments. He's done all these things. You do all these things, but in your heart, do you want to follow me? And I think as Catholics, we know we have our rules, we have the things we have to do, we have our lineup, we know kind of how things are done in the way of life. But what's most important is that our heart wants to follow Jesus, and our heart loves Jesus, so we can then follow the rules and do the things. The rules is not the way of life. The rules, the things, is not the Catholic life. Our hearts being turned to Jesus is what it means deeply and truly to be Catholic. So Jesus asks the rich young man, and he asks all of us, do you want to follow me? Do you want to follow Jesus? Do you actually even want to follow Jesus? You might go to Mass on Sunday, but then Monday morning you're at work complaining and gossiping and yelling at people. You might go to Mass on Sunday, you might pray a rosary, but every time you go on social media, you're jealous, you're bitter, you're pointing fingers, you're judging people around you, you're judging your brothers and sisters, you're talking bad about people, you judge the world. You might go to Mass, you might pray some novenas, but you don't let anybody into your heart. You don't let anybody speak into your life. You think you have it completely figured out. You're not looking for any accountability. You want anyone to give you an answer. You're trying to give answers to everyone. You're trying to give advice to everyone. No one can give advice to you. You may follow the rules being a Catholic, but you struggle deeply with sin and you tell no one about it and you just keep struggling with the same sin over and over and over. You don't go to confession. And you haven't gone to confession in a while. And you just struggle with the sin and you're not looking for any help to get better with this sin. So, in our hearts, we have to say yes. We have to say yes to following Jesus. And that's, I think, at the core of this gospel message is Jesus' invitation to follow him. And our response is to say yes. So ask yourself right now, have you ever actually said yes to following Jesus? Like truly and deeply. Knowing you're not going to do it perfectly, but have you ever actually said yes, I'm going to follow you, Lord. I'm going to actually make changes in my life and follow you. I'm actually going to follow you. I'm actually going to be a disciple of yours. Not just go to Mass and call myself Catholic. I actually am saying yes to be a disciple of yours, Lord. Lord, you're the most important thing in my life. More important than money, more important than things, more important than status, more important than popularity, more important than everything that I could gain. You're more important than that. Have you ever said yes to that? If you have, that's great because you could always say another yes today. If you haven't, and you're hearing this, take some time. Bring this to prayer. Go to adoration. Sit in silence. Think deeply about this question because this invitation is always coming to you. Jesus is always reaching out and giving the invitation to each one of us. Will you follow me? And we might go to Mass but never say yes. We might follow some rules and never say yes. We may have been a missionary but never actually truly said yes in our lives. So that, I think, is at one deep part of this gospel message, is that there is an element of these things that are holding us back, earthly possessions, which is the most common thing, money, earthly possessions, things. They hold us back from saying yes to God. They hold us back from following Jesus more deeply. And so Jesus is saying, get rid of those things that are holding you back. Come and follow me. And we're like the rich young man a lot of times. We just can't give up the thing. We can't give up the comfort. We can't give up the things in our way of following Jesus. And we just want both. We want all of the things, all of the comfort, none of the pain, none of the giving up, none of the sacrifice. We just want Jesus to bless our mound of money and things and say, Lord, just say this is good and I'll keep, following the rules with you. But Jesus is saying, no, I want radically your heart. I want you to say yes. I want you to come more deeply. I don't want you to worry about all of the money or things, anything. I have so much more for you. So, say yes, following Jesus. If you haven't before, take time and think about it and find a way, truthfully, for the first time to verbally and in your heart say yes to following Jesus as his disciple. And I remember when I actually, for the first time ever, said yes to following Jesus. I was graduating college. I've talked about this stories before, but I was graduating college and I had the opportunity to go to the Philippines and serve as a missionary. And I feel like me saying yes to going to the Philippines and doing a mission year and not getting a job, not doing stuff in the basketball world, not doing stuff in the sports media world, but following Jesus' call for me to go to the Philippines and be a missionary was the first time I actually ever said yes to God. And as an adult, everything else before that was just kind of doing the rules or because I feel like people wanted me to do them. And I wanted some sort of good, for myself. But I don't know if my heart was ever truly 100% in it to follow God. I think I wanted to a little bit, but I also think that I knew people wanted me to, and I didn't want them angry at me. So I just, all right, I'll go along and do what I want, but also say yes to following God because people are happy about that. And if I can keep people happy, if God's not too angry at me, and do what I want to do, well, that's a pretty good balance, right? That's a good balance of faith and life. I'm always trying to find the balance, right? I don't want people too angry at me, don't want God too angry at me, want to do what I want, just keeping it all aligned. So it wasn't until I really had this opportunity to go to the Philippines that I was like, wow, I think actually the world is saying to go do other things, but God's calling me to go to the Philippines, and I don't know if I've ever actually made this type of decision before, and it felt like it was the first time I ever said yes to God as an adult. Like, I will follow you, I'll do something you want for me. Now, I've had a lot of growth since then. I was not perfect after that by any stretch of the means at all, but I recall that being the first time I ever was like, you know what? I'm actually going to do this because I think God's calling me to do this. I'm saying yes to God. So, say yes. Understand that there's going to be things that are in your way, possessions-wise, money-wise. We have to give our hearts to God, and he's always put an invitation to say, come and follow me. So then a little bit deeper on the rich young man story is we all have to look at the things that are getting in the way of following God. Because we all have things. We all have our riches. We all have our things like the rich young man that are making us turn away from God. This story, this rich young man story is not a story of, oh my gosh, that guy ruined it. He ruined his shot. I would have definitely sold everything I had and followed God, Jesus, for sure. I mean, it was Jesus. Like, what? Of course I would have done that. Well, then do it. Do it right now. Sell everything you have right now. I want to see it. I want to see receipts, and I want to see you in street beggar clothes next week. Do it. We won't. We shouldn't, right? We wouldn't. So we have to understand that we all truly are this rich young man because there's things that are getting in the way of following God. And it's the gift of self that Jesus is looking for. This self-gift to say, Lord, I'm giving everything over to you. Now, why do we do that? Because like in Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Never rely on what you think you know. Remember the Lord in everything you do, and he will show you the right way. That's the call, to trust in the Lord with our whole heart, and he will show us the right way. But we say, what about my things? What about my luggage? What about my things? I need that for the journey. I need money. I need the security. I need the comfort. I need the relationships. I need the fame. I need the excitement. I need the people. I need the admiration. I need all these things to follow you, Lord. I need this all. But Jesus is looking for a radical gift of self. A radical gift of self to just give ourselves over to God. So, easy to say, maybe, it's maybe a little bit easy to say with the mouth. We have to look in our hearts of what's holding us back. What are those things that are holding us back from giving ourselves to God, that free gift of self? What are those things? There's going to be sin in the way. There's going to be sin, consistent sin we have, whether that's with, drinking, drugs, sexual sin, whether that's sin in relationships, whether that's sin of greed, when it comes to money or career success. There's going to be sin of against people. There's going to be sin that we're always talking about people, always pointing the finger at people, always seeing what's wrong with other people. That's going to be sin that's going to be holding us back. So we have to deeply examine our hearts and look at those things that are holding us back from giving ourselves to Jesus. And, it might come clear to you, might be easy to you, but it also might not be. It might not be super clear of what's holding you back from Jesus. So pray, ask Jesus, Lord, reveal to me what is holding myself back. Reveal to me my heart, the sin, the thing that I need to work on that is holding me back from you. Lord, reveal to me the things that are holding me back. Reveal to me the possessions. Reveal to me the things I value more than you. Lord, show me where my heart is impure. Show me where my heart is failing. And show me how I can show me what I need to give up to follow you more deeply. C.S. Lewis has a quote, "Obedience is the key that opens every door." Following God is not going to burn us in the end. And I think that's the scary thing, is that we think that following God is going to be boring, is going to be bad for us, it's going to be hard, it's going to be suffering constantly. We don't think it's going to be good for us. So we just say, well, I want to make sure I'm holding on to the things I have so I can at least have that to hold on to if following God's not the right thing. But going deeper and deeper and deeper is always going to be better for us, and Jesus is going to show us how he's going to care for us along the way. We have to be obedient. So when we see those things that God's calling us to give up or to work on, or that's holding us back from him, we have to work on giving them up, getting better, being better. And it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be something that, we need to do for a fulfilled, great life with Christ. And that's the hard work that's going to kind of push us further into discipleship, and not just the rules. Like the rich young man was saying, hey, I do all the things, but his heart wasn't there. He says, I do all the things, but my heart's not in it. That's what we can do as modern Catholics. We have the rule, we go to Mass, we say some rosaries, but is our heart deeply in it? If the Lord's radically asking us to go further and deeper and more, will we do it? Or are we just going to point the finger what everything else is wrong with the world and how rotten the world is, so the finger doesn't come pointing to our own hearts and own souls? So, this is a classic, great Bible passage, and it's a great, the rich young man is a great Bible passage for our spirits, and it's also a great checkpoint always to make sure that we have being a good steward of our things. We're constantly accumulating stuff, and it's always a good reminder to make sure that we're good stewards of our things, to make sure we're not putting too much stock and value in our physical things, and to make sure that our hearts are being simple and our hearts are in the right place to follow the Lord. So this is a great question. This was a great, I think, conversation. I think I even, learned a lot as I was preparing for this, and it made me convicted to make sure I'm giving my heart over, I'm giving myself over, that gift of self to the Lord more and more, and to look at the things that I'm holding on to, that I'm holding back from giving God when he's asking me to come deeper, and he's giving me that invitation, and I just reject it because I want to make sure I have my comfort and my security. So that, I think we covered some good ground here, but I want to know what you think too. What do you think? what do you think the rich young man is? What do you think about giving the full gift of self, about accepting that invitation and saying yes to that invitation from Jesus? The things that hold us back as individuals or as societies, what are these things? Is it easier in other countries, or is it harder? Is it harder in America to follow Jesus because we have so many things? I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about this passage, about this question, how you deal with possessions, how you deal with being a good steward of your possessions. I would love to hear your thoughts, any advice. Tell me some things. Tell me some things I should work on, I could work on. I'd love to hear from you. So please, write me, email, comment, text, whatever. I would love to hear from you. So that's going to be it from me today, y'all. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, share this with someone. Share this with someone who has too many things. Yo, you should listen to this. Like, you really need to get rid of some of your stuff. Share with someone, who's like, oh, dude, you need to actually give yourself over more to God. No, I'm just kidding. But share this with someone you think might enjoy this. And, I appreciate you checking in. Appreciate you stopping by. As always, talk to y'all soon. Peace. Bye.